Whoa. What a Friday morning. As we do on the African Entrepreneurship Forum, we start with the energy. If you can hear me, I need someone to give me a thumbs up. A thumbs up. Just use one of the reactions, maybe a butterfly, a love, a thumbs up, or just drop a text in the chat box that I'm loud, I'm audible, and you can hear me. Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Nice one. Great. So if you're connecting from Ghana, I'm your Ghana man. I'm also based in Accra, Ghana. My name is Andrew Sakotuado, and I'm always excited whenever I get to be on the African Entrepreneurship Forum. It's a platform that offers me the opportunity to learn about the amazing things that entrepreneurs are doing on the continent and how the Shared Value Africa initiative is also trying to scale their impact. The purpose of this forum is basically to connect with entrepreneurs. It's where entrepreneurs meet to dialogue, to share ideas, and to support each other to thrive in our journey, in our entrepreneurial journey. So if you're excited as I am about the conversation that we're having today, building social economic value, the shared value way, so creating shared value. And we are just going to diagnose the whole creating shared value narrative. What is it about? How do you do it? How are entrepreneurs doing this? How are entrepreneurs within the shared value network creating shared value and building impact first with profit, but then for purpose, right? Profit with purpose. So the profit doesn't go ahead of you, but then you are being moved with the purpose narrative, creating social economic value. So we believe within the Shared Value Africa initiative that you don't just do business for profit, you do business for social and environmental good, right? So creating shared value. And our speakers for the day are going to do just that. They're going to dive deeper into what it takes to create shared value, what it takes to build for purpose, what it takes to make business with the intention that you are doing good and doing well at the same time. I'm excited for today, and if you're excited, just drop in the text in the chat box, drop a message in the chat box, sorry, and let us know where you're connecting from, where you're based in, and then maybe what you do, all right? But for starters, we are just going to check the tempo. We are going to check how everybody is feeling with our first poll for the day. Just going to check how everybody's feeling, right? Yeah, so you have there on your screen. You can see on your screen the first poll to just gauge the climate. Okay, how you do? I'll tell you how I'm doing, and I'll tell you what I selected after. Awesome. So I'm sure everybody has clicked or selected how they are feeling, just gauging the climate, gauging the tempo, and knowing how everybody is feeling. Awesome. Okay, so can we get a result? Let me tell you how I'm feeling for starters. I selected the first time. I'm great, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Right? I'm sure everybody selected, and those that probably need a pick me time, I'm sure you can get. Oh, awesome! 88%. Everybody knows. Everybody is excited. I'm glad that no one is feeling, down and need a pick me up kind of thing. I'm glad that we are all feeling good. Okay, so 12% are saying that a coffee would be okay for them. Please grab a coffee. It's early morning here. I want to advise you to take a coffee, but if you need that to energize yourself, hey, feel free. Grab a coffee and then let's get the conversation rolling. Okay, so for starters, we've gauged the climate as we normally do. And then the next aspect is to move straight into the first aspect of the conversation. I'm going to introduce you to the Shared Value Investor Readiness Training coming up. It's in partnership with ThreeArrows Impact Partners. And the founder is with us today, So she's going to tell us about the investor readiness training. I've been a part of the training. The first time I was on it, and it was something that got me to understand that to be ready for investment takes a lot as an entrepreneur. So you may think that you have a beautiful pitch deck. You may think that you have an amazing business model. It doesn't only stay there with your pitch deck. It doesn't only stay with the nice pitch that you give to maybe a potential investor. There is more to it. And that's what the Investor Readiness Workshop gives you, or the training gives you. So Sawa is here. Sawa Nakagawa is the founder and partner for the ThreeArrows Impact Partners. So because I said that she's the founder and partner, you see how my words is just so full in my mouth, because ThreeArrows Impact Partners, that's basically what they do. They help to build investable businesses as we know and we want to have on the continent. So over to you, Sawa. Tell us about the Investor Readiness Workshop and what are we supposed to do? Welcome, Sawa.
Thank you, Andrew. It's nice to see you again. Good hello and good morning to everyone. I'm also feeling great this morning. I had some coffee, really excited about what's to come today. So my role today is to give you a sneak preview, like in a movie, of what's to come in our seminar next week, Wednesday. So Andrews has attended our first workshop, which is really about the introduction, but we have an upgraded, or I would say slightly advanced version of the Investor Readiness Seminar, which will not disappoint you. So if you feel like this after hearing the sneak preview, if you're interested in attending, I think the team here is going to put the link for registration in the chat. So please feel free. There are some spots available. So please feel free to register from there. Okay, so what is investor readiness? So as an entrepreneur, you might hear things like, oh, we don't have as investors enough investment pipeline. And then people might say, oh, entrepreneurs are not investor ready. Or people might say in the ecosystem player like Andrews and others that there is a mismatch between entrepreneurs and investors. And it's very frustrating as an entrepreneur. You feel like there's a lot of capital sitting in investors' pockets, but they're not distributed to you, to your business. So what's happening? So as you can see from this picture, that there is a big gap between what the investors are looking for and what the entrepreneurs are looking for. And then my role in this seminar is to help you understand what that means for you to be investor ready as an entrepreneur, and also understand what the investors are thinking. Because, if you don't understand what the investors are looking for, it doesn't matter how much work you do, you're not going to be invested. So join us for a 2.5-hour, very interactive virtual seminar where we're going to cover the following. So we're going to do a little short recap on what it means to be investor ready. So this is what we previously covered in the introductory session, but I can understand that not everybody has attended that particular course. So you're not going to miss out. We will still give you a recap. The main component of next week's session is really around evaluating the investability of your business. So we take very much of an investor point of view to assess your business, which I hope that this 5-point tool that we develop is really helpful for you. And then we go into some of the tips on how to assess your investor readiness. Then everybody loves speed networking, right? As an entrepreneur, and then the participants are coming from all over the continent. And it's a really great opportunity to hear from what Andrews is doing in Accra versus what Sawa as an entrepreneur is doing in Nairobi, and someone else from Johannesburg. So we have a short speed networking session. Then, very excitingly, we're going to have a panel where you have the opportunity to hear directly from investors. And I think this is such a value to the participants, because often entrepreneurs speak amongst ourselves, but we don't really get to ask investors the burning questions that you might have. And at the end, only for the participants, you're going to get a sheet full of additional resources that you can enjoy at your own time. So here we have two fantastic investors joining us at the panel next week. We have Lisa, who is a director at Ilya Foundation based in Johannesburg, which is an impact investor. And then we have Stephen Gugu, who's a director at Victoria Ventures based in Nairobi. He's a very experienced angel investor as well, and he runs that Business Angels Network in Nairobi too. So how do you register? Like I said again, it's next week, Wednesday, on the 17th of May from 10 to 12:30 Central African time. I'll be facilitating the session with absolute excitement and pleasure, and I hope that many of you can join us next week, Wednesday. I hope that you can find a link, or somebody can post a link. Yes, Vuyo has sent a link. It says register here for the Investor Readiness Seminar. So I look forward to seeing you there.
Fantastic. We look forward to seeing everybody there. In fact, today we have a giveaway for the African Entrepreneurship on the forum. Now we have a giveaway for you for not only the upcoming investor readiness training, actually also for the shared value training. We have tickets valued at $70 for 5 people who are going to be the most engaged audience here. So who knows, right? Who knows who's that going to be? So please be engaged, drop in some messages in the chat box, and let us get interactive. Let us hear from you. Thank you so much, Sawa, for that wonderful introductory thoughts, just to let us know what we should expect on the investor readiness training coming up very soon. Please register. We have shared a link in the chat box. Kindly register. If you're an entrepreneur here, it should be part of your modus operandi. That once a while you'll be a part of these trainings that would equip you, that will give you the relevance insight, relevant knowledge for you to be able to chart your path seamlessly. Okay, thank you again, Sawa, for sharing that with us. I'm sure you'll still be hanging on just to be a part of the conversation, listen through. So thank you so much for staying with us. All right, so as I said, it's an exciting Friday morning. So I need the energies to be at par, okay? I'm energized. I'm looking forward to a very informative session. And today would be a build-up on the conversation that we'll be having in our first session for the year. You know, somewhere in February, we met here to talk about economic growth and then the role of the African entrepreneur. This time around, we are delving deeper into the methodology, the shared value methodology, the philosophy that guides entrepreneurs to thrive, okay? And how do they apply this? We're going to get practical examples. We're going to get case studies. We're going to hear from experts. And today, I have with us, or let me just say that the Shared Value Africa Initiative, SVAI, and the organizers for the African Entrepreneurship Forum pulled my boss to join us to be the keynote for our conversation today. Solomon Twum is the country manager of Reach for Change Ghana. He's my boss in the office. So if you didn't know and you are just joining us today, I work with Reach for Change. All I do with Reach for Change is to communicate and publicize the work of social entrepreneurs and to help build them. I get all the insights, all the strategies, all the understanding of the ecosystem, jaw with Solomon and the country team in Ghana to help build a thriving ecosystem. He's going to talk to us about what it takes to build the secrets, you know, to build a successful social enterprise, okay, to build a business. So the theme or the topic that my boss, country manager for Reach for Change, is going to tackle today is the secret to your success in solving social and environmental challenges. Solomon, thank you so much for joining us for today's conversation.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for that.
I know this is a topic that, you know, on a daily we talk about in the office, and we often have this understanding that when entrepreneurs come into the whole place of trying to provide value or their services, they sometimes think about the environment as an afterthought. I'm going to leave you to tell us what the secrets are, okay, to thrive as an entrepreneur, the secret in solving social and environmental challenges, and why entrepreneurs should think about this. Over to you, Solomon.
Thank you, Andy, for that rather elaborate introduction. But before I start, let me also serve notice that I am more than capable of taking up all the 5 tickets that you have on offer. So if there's anyone who wants to share that 5 with me, then they had better engage and do more than what I intend to do today. But thank you. I'm very excited to be addressing this topic as a keynote for this morning. We often wonder why it is necessary to go social and environmental when doing business. But it is also important to note that you exist for a reason, you exist for a purpose, and that purpose must always precede whatever objectives and goals, economic objectives and goals that you have. So for that reason, I would start by sharing a little bit about Reach for Change. Andy, I know you started. We like to call ourselves a venture philanthropy, where we support social enterprises across 18 countries. We do this by providing them with grant funding as well as business skills development. The grant aspect is meant to be catalytic so that it moves them from one stage to the other. The business skills development aspect of our work is to ensure that entrepreneurs are not only scaling their businesses, but actually scaling their impact, because for us, social impact is a big deal. We need social impact to affect a system, and we need social impact to ensure that every child, every youth, every woman, as part of our vision, realizes their full potential. So that's what we do, and we do this through innovation labs, where we work with early stage entrepreneurs to develop some minimum viable products and support them with some access to market activities. And then some also transition into an incubator. We have a theory where we incubate entrepreneurs for a minimum of 3 years. And this is so because our experience have taught us that when you incubate entrepreneurs on a long-term basis, they grow to become financially sustainable, and they don't have to rely so much on grants and reinvestment. But within that 3-year period, you would have been able to work with them to refine their business models such that they would have cracked their revenue streams quite well to rake in the necessary revenues they need to run their operations. And out of those same revenues, they'll be able to also fulfill their social and environmental goals. And then, of course, we have what we call the Scaling Readiness Program. Out of the incubation, we would have noticed that some entrepreneurs now have traction. How do we support them to scale? But because scaling in itself is a big deal, we make sure that our social entrepreneurs go through a Scaling Readiness Program before they then go into a rapid scale program where you are now scaling them times 10. So that's what we do. We are a social enterprise organization ourselves, and we support social entrepreneurs. It's just in our DNA. Now, when it comes to our definition of social enterprises, we say clearly to people that it is about using commercial means to achieving your social and environmental goals. So we don't believe in social entrepreneurs also thinking or having a mindset of not-for-profits where they are always relying on grants or expecting that somebody will dish out money to them to work. We encourage them to generate revenues. We encourage them to make profit, but we also encourage them to use the same revenues and profit generation into channeling some social and environmental objectives. And that is why Andy mentioned from the beginning that our approach is to ensure that entrepreneurs are doing well and doing good at the same time. Doing well meaning that you are performing financially, you are meeting all your objectives, customer-wise, etc., etc. And doing good means that you are also fulfilling your social and environmental objectives such that the larger community is benefiting from that. So that is who we are, and that's our idea of social entrepreneurship. Now, to take an aspect of the topic given to me, that the secret to your success is in solving social or environmental challenges. I want to start by asking, how do we create profits through purpose? That's the first aspect I want to tackle. And like I already mentioned, it's about doing good and doing well at the same time. One must not precede the other. So if you want to do well financially, it is important that you have your products and services right in terms of quality, in terms of fit, how it meets the expectations of your customers or your target audience. If you want to do well, again, on profitability, on revenues, it means that you are also meant to be working with the right partners. It means that you need to be doing things right and doing the right things. It's about efficiency and effectiveness. All of these things obviously will help you do well. But doing good also means that you are trying to identify problems for which reason you exist, because you created your business for a purpose. What is accounting for the problem that you intend to solve? What are the root causes of those problems? What will be the consequences if you don't solve these problems? And for which reason you then also develop a solution tree for all of these problems. I want to do A, B, C, D. That means you are doing good. You are working to affect a system. You are working to address a social issue. You are working to address an environmental issue. When society survives, your business will continually exist. And when society is struggling, what it means is that that struggles inadvertently would also affect your business, for which reason you can't also do well. Now, purpose is your reason for existence. And so it is important that you also start your business with that social and environmental mindset. Don't go into business and assume that you'd wait till you start making money and then do a one-off donation to an orphanage, thinking you are doing good. Those short-term activities does not guarantee the fulfillment or achievement of your social and environmental goals. You need to have a business model that's embedded in there, has those social and environmental parameters. What this means is that as you work, every aspect of your activity as a business is geared towards that three-pronged approach. You are thinking of profitability, you're thinking of society, and you're also thinking of the environment. A typical example I want to share here is a pharmaceutical company called Merck. This is on a general level, and that I'll scale down to one entrepreneur that we supported in Ghana. Now, Merck, as a global pharmaceutical firm, in the 80s, late 80s, noticed that a lot of African countries were battling with this disease called river blindness. And they managed to crack this problem or hack this problem by coming up with some drugs to addressing this river blindness issues. But it was so expensive that the poor average African could not afford that. What did they do? They tried to give this medicine out for free. I know that was quite daring on their part. But over time, what happened was that other development partners noticed the good that they were trying to do. And so you then had a situation where somebody else is funding the activity that you are delivering or carrying out for the good of other beneficiaries. Today, we see Merck to be one of the most profitable pharmaceutical organizations in the world. The giving out of these drugs for free to solve society's problem did not kill them. Why? Because they managed to save a lot of people from going blind so that they could actually work and fulfill some economic goals. And as these economies boom economically, obviously they would have enough disposable income to acquire other drugs that Merck is also providing. So that's what I said earlier about if society dies, your business also struggles to survive. Now, if I take Young at Heart, which is one of the social entrepreneurs we supported in Ghana since 2015, there's a small organization that realized that there were schools in the villages and other parts of the countryside that had no idea on digital skills, had no idea on technology and what it means and what it looks like. Some of them had never seen any mobile device in their life. That's how bad it was. Now, as volunteers, they went around helping these kids in these rural schools with some basic tablets and other devices that also contain some engaging educational materials. So using that approach to teach them science, technology, engineering, mathematics, etc., etc. And when we took on Young at Heart as one of the entrepreneurs into our portfolio, we advised them. We said that, yes, it is good to solve this problem or address this problem in the rural areas. However, there are also schools in the city centers that are more than capable of paying for the services that you are rendering. So why don't you use that to generate income to run your business? We gave them a grant of about $50,000 over a 3-year period, incubated them over a 3-year period. And from 2019, you have no idea the kind of revenues they've raked in from schools that are fee paying, as well as credible international donor agencies that are directly funding them to further expand. As we speak, they are now running their programs in about 500 schools in the country. And so you see them bridging the gap in knowledge between rural school children and school children in the urban centers. At the end of the day, when you create this equality platform, we all drive forward together as a nation, and that is where, as a business, they also survive. They no longer rely on grants, but when you give the grants to them, they will take it and do the work for you. And so there's little stress in having to write proposals, fundraise, etc., etc. Because within their business model, over that 3-year period, we've realized how they can solve these social and environmental problems they identified, whilst also doing well as an organization at the same time. I'm very mindful of time. I would want to wrap up here, but before I do that, I would quickly share with you some few tips that you can think of or have it challenge you and begin to reflect on if you want to create purpose, if you want to go social and environmental. It's important that you first of all put purpose at the center of your vision. Do not run or start a business by only focusing on the opportunity you've identified. Because there's X number of people within this market, you assume that it's enough market size for you to generate revenues or profits. That is true. But at the heart of that dealing or addressing with that opportunity must be purpose. Why do you want to do this? There must be an underlying reason why you want to go into business. And it's that purpose that will begin to drive how you think and how you shape your activities. You can't do this alone. You need to also give people the ownership of your purpose. And when I talk about people here, I'm talking about your team and your staff. So what I'm trying to tell you is that do not come in with people who are just coming to work. You need to recruit and hire people who share in the purpose for which you exist. There must be that aligned vision. And the same approach must also go to your partners in situations where you are collaborating or partnering with others to run that organization that you are setting up or to deliver the solutions that you are thinking of. You need to make sure that these are also partners who share in the vision and purpose that you have. It should not just be a partner who is capable because the person is hardworking, the person is very good at selling and at business development. So I'm bringing this gentleman or this lady on board to help drive my business. Where there's no aligned and shared vision on the purpose, you are going to struggle. And what would have been a good opportunity for you to thrive then becomes a major problem for your business to survive. Another important thing is to make sure that you are tracking your impact and communicating same. Once you are running your business on the basis of purpose, and that purpose being social and environmental, it is important to let the public know what it is that you are creating out of this purpose, how societies are benefiting, how the market is benefiting from your work. That is the only way you build credibility. And credibility must always come before visibility. Rather than go out and make a lot of noise on social media and stuff like that, make sure that you are capable. Whatever it is that you are communicating there is what you are actually noted for. And to do this, you need to keep an eye on whatever impact you are making. Track that impact, report same, so people can actually testify to the work that you do. And finally, having worked with entrepreneurs over all these years, there's one thing I have realized. Typical of the African entrepreneur is a problem of what I call the mindset. You can't create a business that has purpose if there's no shift in your mindset. Sometimes we see our entrepreneurs being too entitled. We see them being quite lax and laid back. We see them always focusing on problems because of the fact that there are challenges in the countries where they operate, rather than thinking out of the box and finding solutions to those problems. Realizing that those very existing problems is an opportunity for you to bloom is the starting point. But when you have the mindset of always focusing on the problems and not the end goal, then that becomes a challenge. So it is important that we begin to also look at the mindset that we use to address the kind of businesses that we are running, and make sure that there's that social and environmental mindset embedded in there as well. It's all about purpose. Thank you very much. Over to you, Andy.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Solomon. There's a lot that you unpacked for the journey of an African entrepreneur to be first driven by purpose, as in putting purpose at the center of your work, and then also brings partners on board, even makes you even attractive for investment, citing the example of Meg, and then with our chain leader, Young at Heart, and how they were even able to attract some form of funding and build some approach in terms of their business model to be able to get recurring funds even from markets that they didn't even think about, right? I'm curious to know, when it comes to what you said, credibility before visibility, what are the various tools that entrepreneurs need, maybe in a 3-line or something, to build that credibility? When we say credibility, what do we really mean by that? Is it to have a nice business model, to be on some platforms, and to have a good storytelling ability, or to be able to do great accounting work? What sort of credibility would make up a very thriving or a very good entrepreneur? What credibility should they have before the visibility comes in?
Let me take it at a very micro level, because we don't have time. But you are a startup. Most likely you are everything. You are your own HR, you are your own accountant, etc. Because you run a very lean team. In some cases, you are alone to start with. What you don't have, you don't give, for example. So don't promise what you can't deliver. If you are in a business of delivering a service and you know that you can deliver in 2 weeks, that is what you do. You don't go promising 1 week because you expect to, you just want the money. And then after that, you start telling stories. Obviously, that won't raise credibility. People will leave with bad testimonies after engaging your brand, and those bad testimonies spread faster even than the good news. So on an individual basis, startups, entrepreneurs, innovators must make sure that ethics is also at the heart or the core of everything that they do in their dealings with clients and with their customers. Then on a business level, deliver quality. Your brand must deliver a promise. You can't afford to, for example, provide services or products that are substandard, but then your communication out there is so on point. How you are utilizing your social media channels to attract people to your brand, and yet they experience your brand and that experience falls below their expectation. That is not right. So only promise what you can deliver. That's the main thing. When I talk about credibility, it's about doing things right and doing the right thing. So before you go out there and start making noise, sharing stuff on your social media and things like that, just make sure that what is going out there from your organization actually meets the expectations, or even more so, if it can exceed the expectations of your target audience. That is how you build credibility. There's a lot more I can share, but I'm sure probably on another forum, we can do that. And then, of course, everything else would follow. So before you start going out there to make noise, make sure that you are capable of delivering. That's the main thing I wanted to. Yeah.
Fantastic. Before you go out there to make noise, make sure you're capable of delivering. What you don't have, don't say you can give. That's very powerful. Thank you very much. There are a lot of comments in the chat box. I wanted to reach some, but then there's also a hand raised right now. Can we use 1 minute to just take this question? We are not opening up for questions, but I'm just allowing it for this moment, because we still have some 2 minutes, and then we'll move into the next aspect of the conversation. So Aroma, maybe you can unmute and ask a question.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you very much. I am Patrick Aroma from Uganda. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, 30 seconds with your question.
Yes, my interest is that Solomon should share with us his email address, because we are interested in the materials from those good examples which he has given, the concept notes and the proposals, so that we can be able to replicate it in our countries. Thank you.
That's very good. So Solomon will share, but then also route to the SVAI, and then we can definitely set up something in terms of conversation. So don't hesitate to send an email to Lolo, that post webinar conversation or post forum conversation. You want to have some interactions with Solomon and what have you, because I think Solomon, we've done justice to the topic, and at the moment I'm going to pull out the next poll for you to let us know what you think entrepreneurs would have to do in advancing social change. Based on what you've heard so far from Solomon, we just want to get the understanding from your end that everybody listened to him, and he said a lot of insightful stuff, giving us the very basic understanding of who an entrepreneur is and what you stand to do. So I think that we can be able to, answer this question quickly. Sorry about the background noise. There's this work going on all of a sudden here. Pardon me for the noise. All right. Okay. So we have our poll. Yes, 100%. No. So 94% saying that yes, absolutely, it's our responsibility. So the question was that, do you think entrepreneurs have a role to play in advancing societal change? From the presentation today, we have a resounding yes, it is our responsibility. And then 6% is saying that we could, but we are all struggling to survive. Solomon, so you see that the necessity angle, and as you said, entrepreneurs thinking about first problems that are confronted with, but then these are tumultuous times, and there are a lot of challenges. Sometimes they struggle to run away from those challenges, right? A quick thought on that.
Thank you, Andy. I am very much interested in that 6%, because obviously it doesn't make the number whole. It doesn't make us achieve that 100%. So it is also important that we focus on them. It is true that entrepreneurs struggle, and it is also true that what they need basically is money. But I've always said that you need to have the capacity to even absorb that money that is coming your way. I've seen entrepreneurs who've benefited from huge grants, and that has rather become their Achilles heel, where they've actually died out of business rather than surviving, because they were not at a point where they could absorb that investment, the capacity to even spend the way it's supposed to be. But when, like I said, you are addressing the social and economic challenges, you are sort of bringing everybody along. So you wake up one morning and realize that you are not struggling anymore because you have empowered the larger society and putting them at a point where they are now capable of doing business with you. So for your own survival, it is important to think social and environmental. It is okay to struggle, and that is why we are here. That's why the Shared Value Africa Initiative is also here. And I'm more than happy to, again, through the same platform, organize other talks later on to see how we can practically do this. All right, so let's not focus on the problems too much. Let's focus on the end goals. And I want to use this quick analogy. It's just like seeing a very muscular, tall guy in front of you and asking a lady, what do you think about this gentleman? I think he'll be a good fit. And your first thought is that, hey, this guy is too tall and muscular. What if he beats me up? What if he assaults me? I don't think I can survive. Look at his hands. He's so well built. But somebody else is thinking, I actually like this gentleman because he can literally carry me around and twirl me and things like that. So somebody is thinking about problems, somebody is thinking about the end goal. And as entrepreneurs, we must always focus on the end goal out there rather than looking at the problems that confront us immediately, because those problems will always be there. The question is, how do we go around those problems to address the vision that we have in mind?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And that is exactly what we'll be unpacking even further with our panel. Thank you so much, Solomon. I'm sure you'll be staying with us for a while. I know you have a very busy schedule, but I'm sure you'd hang around for a while. Okay. Sure. Thank you so much. This has been very insightful. And without much ado, I have a very packed panel. You know, the lineup is great with industry players and my own Africa Council of Eight, some members from the Africa Council of Eight with the Shared Value Africa Initiative. And we would be diving deeper into the various things that Solomon touched on in terms of how you, the entrepreneur, create value through your business. So some of the things that came up that you think you still have some questions that needs to be answered, this is the time that you share all the questions in the chat box. All right, push the questions in the chat box. We are going to spend some time with the panel to tackle all your questions. All right. Okay. First off, let me welcome Regis. Regis is a CEO for the CAL Group. Regis is an African Council of Eight member. He is a member with the African Council of Eight. I won't, because there's a long list of panelists, I won't spend my time, introducing all of them, but I'm just going to pull them up. So all panelists, if you're on the call, kindly turn on your video and then join me here. So we have Regis, we have Amanda Sibia. She's the founder and lead strategist, Brandon Africa. Okay, kindly. Okay, did I set the ground rules? Please unmute if you're not talking. Kindly unmute if you're not speaking. Thank you so much. That is the foremost ground rule. At this session, we don't want any distraction. I'm facing my bit of challenge here with an unfortunate construction work just happening at the back here. But that's what we get when we are doing a virtual forum like this. And this is very important. So I don't want to concentrate on it. So please make sure you don't give me an extra feed. I beg you. Okay, thank you so much for maintaining the tempo and maintaining a bit of quiet here for our panelists. If you have anything to say, please drop it in the chat box. If you want to say something, catch my attention by the reactions. Okay, just pull up a hand up and then I'm definitely going to give you a chance to talk. Okay, so we have Amanda Sibia here, and let me call Albert Imbithi. He's an associate with Double Feather. Double Feather, I'm sure they're into investment, and I'm sure those are the conversations that entrepreneurs like to. They want the person who has the money to be part of the conversation. Okay, so let me also call on Francis. Francis is with Keep It Cool. Keep It Cool. He'll tell us about their work, and everybody's going to share 3 minutes about what they do. The last but not the least is Elijah Bax. He likes to be called Bax. Okay, Bax is a co-founder for Tari.ai Consulting, and he's also doing his 9 to 5 is with Vodafone. Vodacom, sorry. So, okay. Do we have our panelists here? Okay, I see everybody.
Hi,
everybody. Wonderful, wonderful. Good to have you all here. Okay, let me start with Reggie. So, tell us about yourself and give us a quick, connection with the keynote. Maybe there are some thoughts that stood out for you. There's some thinking or some words or statement that he made that probably you want to touch a bit on. Please, you have 3 minutes to shoot.
Thank you, Andrews. Hope everyone is excited for this meeting as mine. And I hope you are doing well, all of you. As you said, my name is Regis Umugiraneza. I'm based in Rwanda, in Kigali. So I'm running a company called Car Group, which is a company that is specialized in making very nutritious food by using locally sourced ingredients such as sweet potatoes. Now we are into iron beans. And what we are trying to do is to make sure that we are producing something that can respond to the market needs. Where in Rwanda, we have more than 33% of our children are suffering from malnutrition, stunting specifically. So we are trying to make sure that we are responding to that by providing some of the micronutrient availability, such as, for example, vitamin A, which is most of stunted children here are suffering from vitamin A deficiency. And also our young girls, mostly they are suffering from anemia. So that's why we are trying to make a biscuit from beans, iron beans, to make sure that we can respond to the that needs of iron deficiency. And now we are having bread called Vita bread, which is one of the products in Rwanda that has been certified, and it's made from sweet potatoes. It's now sold in the city of Kigali in more than 45 supermarkets. And we are now working with more than 1,000 farmers across the country. And we are targeting even to reach to around 20,000 by next year because of the partnership we are creating through Rwanda Agriculture Board and also MasterCard Foundation and other stakeholders. So sweet potato has been really a useless crop in Rwanda because of our historical background. But because of Car Group and awareness and advocacy, now the government is about to decide that they can add sweet potato into priority crops of Rwanda because of two aspects. One is food security, and also the second one is about nutrition. Because you can just grow sweet potato within 3 months and you get the harvest, 3 months and a half. And now we are having orange fresh sweet potatoes, which is a very nutritious crop. So we are trying our best to make sure that the two are combined. Food security and nutrition has to go together so that we can make sure that we are producing nutritious foods. So from the aspect of what we have been discussing, yes, when you look at what we are doing, we are creating value on two sides. One is on supply chain, where the sweet potato farmers has been struggling to get a market, a reliable market, because we were just eating sweet potato in a boiled way or fried way. And then because of almost 80% of our households, they grow sweet potatoes at small scale. And then when it's harvesting time, you realize that those smallholder farmers, they are not getting a market, a sustainable market. So we try to create a sustainable market for them. That's on the supply side. And on demand side, we are trying to create nutritious food. It's not only for kids who are suffering from stunting, but as a country which is now under development, we also need to focus and pay attention on nutrition. So that's why we are trying to produce high nutrient food, but using what we already have here. So we are creating value on both sides, on demand side and on supply side. So that's why I always care about and pay attention on shared values. So that we are discussing today. So that's what we are doing here in Rwanda, and hope to keep updating you more about that. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're a business that puts purpose at the center of your work, as Solomon rightly said. Let's go to Albert. Okay, Albert, can you introduce yourself? Tell us about the work you do and how it relates to our topic today.
Yeah,
how your work and your activities relate and connect with some of the things that we've already said so far.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, and my colleagues on the panel. And so, sorry, I'm driving, so the meeting had to start, and then I had to pull over because it's very important to have listened to Solomon. And,
I see that.
And so, Double Feather Partners is a venture capital firm. It's also a startup engagement consultancy firm. And we also run acceleration. It's based in Tokyo, but we are focused on Africa. And initially it was started by the CEO called Koe Muto. He's a Japanese guy. He worked in the Middle East, then he moved to Israel, then he moved to Rwanda for about 4 years. And so in Rwanda, that's when he started the Double Feather Partners. And the idea at that time was doing market research for the African ecosystem. And out of that, then this idea of engaging with startup, doing investment came back to him. And so we started a different arm at that time. I joined later, like after 3 years after the TikTok. And so in Double Feather, we have like two arms. One, of course, is the investment arm that does investment into early stage startup. We've been doing investment through our balance sheet. And this time we're also raising our first fund. And so at the moment we are creating the pipeline, meeting with new startup and enterprises in order for us to be able to bring them into the pipeline for financing and funding later this year. And so that is one arm. The other arm, of course, is the accelerator, the startup engagement. So we call it like advisory, which runs the acceleration. It also does research, and it also does client matching, either enterprises matching with Japanese corporates, bring together. And so we do that kind of market research for private companies, for corporates, for startups, even DFIs, and also in the government. And so if I take you back to what we do like investment, we've done a couple of investment across the region. Looking at Uganda, we've done investment in Uganda for a mobility startup called Safe Border. We've also done the fintech asset financing for motorbikes in Uganda called ASAC. Then we've also done another investment in Elo Tractor. Elo Tractor is in Kenya and also in Nigeria. It's like a modern Uber for tractors. So for small-scale farmers who are not able to afford to acquire a tractor, Elo Tractor will enable them to Uber and come and farm maybe a sizable piece of land. And through this, then they've been able to improve production for small-scale farmers, and they've also been able to, currently they're working with over almost 5,000 farmers, small-scale farmers across the region. And to look at the impact, it's quite magnificent, it's quite huge. Due to time, I maybe touch briefly on the acceleration program. The acceleration program we run.
So Albert, yes. we would go there. What maybe I would want to do now is probably get quick intro thoughts from Francis, and then we'll get back to talk about the aspects of your support for social entrepreneurs, support for entrepreneurship within the accelerator program angle. All right, so Francis, quick thoughts from you, and then I don't know if Amanda has dropped, but if Amanda is still here, that would be so good because we would want to get your thoughts also. So Francis, quick thoughts from you.
Thank you so much, Andrews. As mentioned, my name is Francis, and I'm the founder and managing director of a startup based in Kenya called Keep It Cool. Keep It Cool is a social enterprise that is disrupting the white meat value chain. which has been adversely affected by lack of infrastructure, and we're disrupting by decentralizing access to cold chain or cooling solutions to farmers, to fisher folk, and also access to markets. And these two sort of solutions have been, it's a hybrid sort of solution that you're building that basically has been able to reduce post-harvest losses in these value chains that heavily rely on cooling from an average of 40% to 0.6%. So that our intervention has really helped a lot of fisher folks, a lot of farmers, and that has been our, our impact. In terms of my reaction to some of the presentations that have been made, I joined a bit late, but I met one of the speakers saying that you have to deliver what you promised. And that also contradicts, in my opinion, the nature of the place that we are as entrepreneurs. Is sometimes you have to shout about yourself, you have to project your impact, you have to promise sometimes what not you can deliver. I'm talking about the reality, not what is politically right to say. The reality is you have to project, you have to promise, you have to show the problem is bigger. And even though you're solving a small part of it, but you have to define the problem as bigger. And that's the reality. Sometimes, you have to shout about yourself, especially coming from, an African point of view, is that you have never, had this sort of platform where we are able to project our enterprises, our businesses. And so sometimes there is that conflict of,
We'll unpack those conflicts. And maybe he's still here, so maybe he would even give more understanding to it, because let me just, if Solomon is still here, and he would be with us definitely to give certain narratives on that. But then let me go to Amanda. Amanda, tell us about yourself. I know Branding Africa brands everything that they touch their hands on, including image branding.
Absolutely. We are Branding Africa at the end of the day. Hi to everyone. My name is Amanda Spear. I'm founder at Branding Africa and also lead strategist there. So I work as a brand strategist to kind of help entrepreneurs in building their brands. And the reason why I started really was because of the stat, because of the 22% of the working age population in Africa are starting businesses, but there's a lot of them that fail before they get to their second year or even their third year. And a lot of what I do, the purpose behind what I do is in wanting to equip entrepreneurs in building businesses that matter, or businesses that are driven by purpose. And for me, one thing that Solomon said was around, scaling. It's more than scaling your business, but scaling your impact. That really stuck to me because scaling your impact first really will impact your business at the end of the day, impact your profit. Your bottom line will be impacted positively if you firstly focus on scaling the impact that you're trying to do. One thing that we started doing at Branding Africa is we launched another arm of our business called Branding Africa Academy, well, BA Academy as for short, where we are focusing on skill development and focusing on equipping entrepreneurs with, mindset is one thing that Solomon mentioned, is one thing that we focus on as well, in focusing in the skills that they need in order to build their businesses, specifically those businesses where they are the HR, they are the accountant, they are the lawyer, they are doing everything all at the same time, but they lack the knowledge to do all of that at the same time as well. So there's a lot of skill development that's needed, and for us, that is the purpose that we choose to go with. So a lot of what Solomon said really stuck to me. And even Francis, what he's saying, with the conflict that he's talking about, I experienced that conflict a lot, because you hear fake it till you make it, you know? That's one thing that everyone says, fake it till you make it. It's like, sometimes you have to say you can do something even though you cannot. And I've been stuck in boardrooms a lot where I'm the only female, like this panel right now. And usually even the youngest person, and I need to fake it till I make it. Thankfully, I have made it, or I'm still on my way there, but sometimes, you know, you are stuck between, do I say I can do it and then get the resources after, or do I get the resources, then say I can do it? It's a bit of a conflict in between, but I really agree with what Francis said. But again, I share the sentiments of Solomon in his speech as well.
Wonderful. I think there's a lot of things that we have as entrepreneurs, definitely have that edge to project, to let that ambition lead you, and it just gets you to, you know, fake it till you make it. Let me bring Bax. I know Bax is here. Bax, if you're with us, kindly because we have a very long list of panel, so let me try and get everybody's thoughts, everybody's groove in. So Bax, over to you.
Hi, Andres.
Yes.
Hi, Andres, and good morning to the wonderful entrepreneurs, to our fellow panelists, and everybody. Thanks for having me here. Apologies, there is no camera network issues. However, so my name is Bax. I am a co-founder on a startup called Tari.ai. As you can already pick up, it's an AI startup. So as the cliché goes, data is the new gold, and AI is the new electricity that powers all sectors and all industries and basically everything in our lives. So it goes without saying that as an AI professional, we actually play into that space. But the reason for opening the startup is because we are in the cusp of the 4IR economy. So I'm based in Cape Town, South Africa, and we think that the story is the same across most parts of Africa, because I know this because I'm also a country ambassador for Zindi. Zindi is the largest open data science platform in Africa. So it's the same challenge. But what I wanted to say is economies are beginning to open up to the possibilities of AI, wanting to understand AI, what it is, how can we leverage it, how can we deliver value for our businesses, etc. And really that's where we come in. We add value to businesses in the consulting space by making sense of your data, whether it's trying to do lead generation, which customer.
Yeah, Bax. Okay, I think we lost Bax there. But if you can hear me, you can hold your thoughts a bit. You can hold your thoughts a bit, and then let's delve into the conversation, and maybe we'll just bring in how AI serves as an enabler in terms of the line of thought that you were on. I think we have a question that we'll definitely touch on. So kindly, position yourself well, and I think definitely we'll get your thoughts on that. All right. But first, let's start off with a dilemma that we have currently about the fake it and make it mantra, about how entrepreneurs have to probably, be truthful, but with a certain narrative to push their energies forward. I don't want to say that entrepreneurs have to, over deliver what they haven't. I think it's better to over deliver what you've promised, right, rather than over promising what you might not be able to deliver. I think that was the same sort of thinking that Solomon was on. So let me invite Solomon again to maybe point on that, and then definitely we'll just get a thought of Francis, and then maybe we'll go into the other panelists to let us know what they also think about this particular dilemma that I think almost every entrepreneur faces. So Solomon, if you're here with me, can you quickly, maybe in 1 minute, let us share your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Francis. I'm sorry for putting you through this for the weekend, but my question to you, as I was listening to you, the question that kept coming up was, how long can you keep faking it? And will your anchor hold when you are found out? You see, as young entrepreneurs, credibility is everything. When you lie your way through the top, you are going to have serious problems. I would rather, using your same word in quotes, if you want to fake it, then make sure that it's a kind of fake that you are capable on delivering on, bottom line. So like Amanda mentioned, you're in a boardroom, you're being looked, down on because you are the only female. Sometimes people don't even believe in your capacity to deliver, etc., etc. That is the challenge, that is the reality. Rather than going into the room to fake it, why don't you find allies and advocates that when it comes to contracts involving such organizations or contracts involving such magnitudes, I want to team up with VUIO. Let's use the organization, let's operate as a consortium. I get some, you get some. That is collaboration. And that is the spirit of the game, rather than going to fake it. So before you go into that room and say, yes, I can deliver, you must have the capacity to deliver. And having the capacity to deliver means that you have partners you can rely on. So at that point, you are not faking it. You are actually speaking the truth. But going to fake it means that you want to cut corners. And at that point, you are not being truthful. When you are found out, it rather exacerbates the problem. And for years, you have to be dealing with that issue of credibility. And that's why I talked about making sure that you build credibility before you raise visibility. Unlike having a purpose where you are doing well and doing good at the same time. But before you start making noise out there, once you know that you are ready to go out there and get Amanda to hone your brand for you, make sure that what people see is what they get, bottom line. Can you imagine walking into a hotel room where what you experience is way different from the pictures and images you saw on the website? You always come back to complain. Sometimes right in the room, you go on to TripAdvisor on your phone and you start, yelling even before you've touched the bed because of that disappointment. It is that same dissonance you want to avoid your clients and your partners from experiencing when it comes to your business. You want to avoid that. You want to rather get to a point where all partners in the system where you're operating are rather your advocates, where they can make referrals to your business. That is very important.
Yeah, Francis, a quick reactions from you on that. Have you let go of your initial thinking, or you still have something that you may want to unpack within this line of thoughts that Solomon just presented?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I still want to hold on to my point of view in this sense. I'm not coming from the point of disinforming stakeholders or telling them what's not true or not. I'm coming from the point of aim for the stars, land on the moon kind of perspective. And that should be always the motivation for entrepreneurs, like aim for something bigger, and if you achieve it, well, you're beyond expectations, right? You have met and gone beyond the expectations. But yeah, so from the perspective of aiming for the stars, landing on the moon, I'm not saying either narrative is wrong or right. I'm just trying to tell the entrepreneurs that you have to have that ability to project as well. It's also important as much as being realistic is important, because if you look at some of the startup narrative, it's always a hypothesis. It's always a hypothesis. We are trying to do this. We are trying to disrupt this. We are trying to do this. It's never a realistic goal, because it's a disruption. So if it's something that is meant to disrupt the reality of today, how can that be realistic, in my opinion? So that's my point of view. I'm not saying that we have to disinform the stakeholders, but we have to be ambitious, because, for example, if you listen to Elon Musk, most of the stuff you're like, what? Can that even actually happen? It sounds more like something out of this world, and it's that balance that I want us address the hypothesis of the solution and not necessarily misinforming the stakeholders. So that's my submission.
Once we talk about misinformation, I'm happy. I mean, for me, ethics and credibility is everything. You can never get it wrong when you are ethical and credible. Aiming for the stars, landing on the moon, yes, there's nothing wrong having a big, hairy, audacious goal. That's how I like to call it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, dreaming big, etc., etc. So to that extent, yes, I agree. But for entrepreneurs, whether you are small, whether you are medium, whether you are large, credibility and ethics is something that you can never go wrong with. We've seen how Volkswagen is having to pay billions of euros in compensation for faking their emission levels and things like that. And these things have, as you keep advancing as a country where your customers become complex and very much aware, you'd be surprised the number of people who would want to boycott your brand, and you don't want to get into those kind of things. So yes, so long as there's no
misinformation
and stuff like that, yes, that's fine. But dreaming big, you are free to do so. I totally agree.
Yeah. Fantastic. I want to get from a very practical sense of view. When it comes to Regis, for an instance, what were you aiming for? Because of course, keep the vision in your sight that I want to build this type of world. I want to create this type of intervention. It has to be big, hairy, audacious. Your brand promise has to sound like you are bringing something that is not already in existence, but then you are able to do it. So there's an aspect where Solomon touched on that credibility. Can you do it? Can you deliver it? So definitely Francis would build this big, hairy, audacious, hypothetically. I mean, he may not be able to do it now, but he anticipates doing it someday. So Regis, what do you find yourself within the same line of thought? And what can you add on? I think we are balanced now, I guess. But Regis, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, from Francis' side and Solomon's side, I think there's something common. At the end, we are all doing business. We are talking about business. And if we are talking about business, we are talking about people who buy and the product you sell. And the people who buy, they're the ones who make you sustainable. Then those people, if you are not creating a solution to their needs, you will never being sustainable, as we already say. And what I'm thinking is that, first of all, we need to create a great value of our products or services. Because at the end, people buy values. They don't just buy products. Because a product is everywhere. But if there is no specific value that product has, then no one will buy it. So, and as an entrepreneur, mostly startup nowadays, we need to look at the solution that will last longer. From Solomon's side, I was thinking about people who make business just for living. Yeah, they can just go and set up a boutique or a shop and something. But also we need to think about those people who think big, as Francis said. And those people think big burden, big problem. And when you are thinking big problem, I think you cannot just wake up in the morning and get the product that can solve that big problem within 1 week or 2 days or something like that. So that's why you need to fake it sometimes until you make it. Because once you fake it with that big problem, then you will also make big money and also have bigger sustainability. So that's what I was thinking, try to link it with the Francis and Solomon. So we need also to look at that aspect of sustainability. Whatever we are doing, we need to be create something sustainable. Otherwise, we are just creating the business for living. So that's why on what I'm doing, I'm trying to look at the challenge that we have here in Rwanda, but not as our small market of Rwanda, but at the Africa continent. So when you look at Africa continent, more than 200 million of Africans are suffering from malnutrition. What can we do? That's We don't need to start bigger. We just need to start small. Maybe we used to say that start locally and then grow internationally. So what we need to do is just start that small as you are, and then grow it as of course as your demand grow. But we have to look at the bigger market so that we can be able to deliver what we are supposed to deliver. And from what you were saying, Andrew, about delivering, we are entrepreneurs. We are doing business. We are not NGOs. Who told you to solve the problem of 200 million? No, just make money. If you are making money from them, let's keep making it money. So whatever you are doing is just making money from them. But if you are an NGO, it's okay. Yes, you can say, I'm going to impact 200 million. It's okay, you have your strategy. But for business, if you are sure that if your customer paying you, no matter how many they are, so then you can deliver to them because you are getting money, and the money you are getting from them, you are using it to solve their problems.
Hold on your thoughts on there for a moment. You know, making money, and the money you are making helps you solve the problems that you want to solve for your customer base, your users, right? I want to go to the strategy point of view, from the brand strategy. So what helps an entrepreneur in terms of brand strategy in communicating what you want to do, or showing or giving that sort of hope, that belief in you that if you trust me with these resources, as Reggie said, in terms of purchasing, the value that you're providing and the value that you're creating is making this money for you. But then you are also aiming high. Hypothetically, you are aiming high and trying to make some other promises. In terms of the brand strategy, how does entrepreneurs come to that balance to be able to speak truth to what they can deliver, and maybe also give that promise? How do they navigate that? Because I see in the chat box that people are already starting to advocate, say no to people are so from the brand strategy.
There's a protest in the chats. There's a protest happening in the chat room there.
I think it's always good to not trying to paint.
Right, I want to hear from Amanda. I want to hear from Amanda now.
Okay, Amanda, go ahead.
The entrepreneur wants to also come in.
Go ahead, Amanda.
And bring some perspective. But Amanda, on the brand strategy point of view, okay, how do we begin to project or speak to what we can do, and the promise that we give our customer base? Okay, how do we create it within our brand so that we can have that upper hand?
The fundamentals of strategy, of brand strategy, is understanding the person who you're creating the purpose for, or you're creating the value for. So I think as an entrepreneur and as a brand, you need to decide on what is my purpose, define what that purpose is, and what you're trying to give, what the value is that you're trying to give your customer at the end of the day. Because when we talk about business, it's hardly about you as the entrepreneur or you as the business. It's always about the person who you're solving the problem for, or the person who you're trying to give that value to as well, the community you're trying to impact. Because at the end of the day, your product is around giving that person value. Because it's not about, oh, I think this product is great, but it's more of, what does the customer say about that product? Is it giving the value that they're trying to get from it? Because the reason why, or rather how people evaluate why they make a buying decision, is compared to the value that they're getting from this product. No one ever says, oh, this is too expensive for no reason. Is that the reason why they're saying this product is too expensive is that when they compare the value they're getting from it versus the money they're paying for it, that value and the money is not matching. So if you want to make sure that you're giving as much value as possible to your consumer, you need to understand the value that you want to give to them versus the value they expect to get from that product. So when it comes to purpose, and as an entrepreneur and the value you're trying to give, you have to define what that purpose is. Define the very value you're trying to give. You cannot just try and say, I'm trying to save the world. Okay, you want to save the world, it's great. But in which aspect are you trying to save the world in? So for Regis, obviously his purpose is very clear in terms of, it's on the food side, agriculture, health as well. So if if he was trying to say, yes, I'm trying to solve that, I'm trying to solve unemployment, I'm trying to, you know, alleviate poverty, it's like you're confused. If you're confused, your consumer is going to be confused as well. So the very fundamental principles of strategy in any point of view is understanding the consumer who you're trying to give the value to. Once you understand their problem that they're having, you're able to manipulate your product in order to make sure that it solves the very problem you're trying to give to them, but also it also gives them as much value as possible. If it's not valuable to them, believe me, your product will not go anywhere.
What then does the investor think about this in terms of what entrepreneurs are seeking to give their value and then get a paying customer, someone that believes in their why, someone that is aligned and already available to them to go whatever mile they want to go on. And the other layer also is that how does the entrepreneur connect this and say that I'm providing this value to this X number of people, and I'm also hoping to attract this funding. So within the same line of thought, do they have to exaggerate in terms of at some point, and do they even have to think about that? Because I think the bottom line of what we are saying is that ethics is important. And now what entrepreneurs also want to do is to make money. So making money not at the expense of your people, I think we've established that. How doesn't the investor come into play? And also the mindset that I need to raise these funds, I need to make this money, I need to do this. How do they make the balance as an entrepreneur with what Amanda just said in terms of creating value and letting your customer believe in your why? Does the investor look to that? Or the investor always looks at what you can make, the money that you can make, and how much they can put in your business, and how much they can also make out of your business? All right. We want to be led with purpose, but then also I think there is that temptation as well. But can you help us share your thoughts on that and help us unpack this so that we get sustainable businesses, not just businesses who are just making money and not adding any value, right?
Yeah, so in terms of investment, or definitely every investor has their own metrics on how to rate the startup or enterprises. But one of the key things, of course, is looking at the product itself. What is the impact? What is the market size of the product? How many customers are you able to touch? How many customers are you able to serve? We've seen most of the customers, like especially most of the new startups and enterprises. The major problem we have currently, especially in Africa, is duplicating and replicating business models. Like somebody will come up to us and say, okay, I want you guys to fund me. I want to create the Amazon for Africa. Amazon nowadays doesn't exist for Africa. That door is closed. So you need to come up with what kind of solution are you trying to provide within your community? What is your unique proposition, especially in terms of provision of your services, and what problem are you trying to solve? So that kind of unique value proposition for your business matters a lot. Are you able to disrupt the market? Yeah. And are you able to, how many customers are you able to touch? Especially, let me give you an example. For example, let's say you're providing a solar energy business within your locality or within your community. Then what we also need is to look at the metrics of the solar panel or off-grid solution that you're trying to provide to your solution. For example, we would say we look at this is the solar that you're providing to houses. These houses maybe it's going to provide for lighting. So how many kids or growing children have been able to add more hours of their study because they've been able to have lighting within their houses? How many jobs have they been? How many jobs are your business model, like for solar, trying to provide energy? How many other more income or economic activities has it provided to your communities or to your clients? Are they able to do like either provide salons, do barber shops within their communities? Are they able to do welding and create jobs and also bring more income to the communities? We also look at, is it trying to create like providing clean energy, because you are not able now to use firewood, you're not able to use kerosene. And so it's providing like health energy to creating more impact within the community. The other thing, maybe this cooling system, like keep it cool, is it providing like, what function is it providing? We've seen like during the COVID, we had also government partner with small scale enterprises to be able to sell vaccines within their locality. And so there are so many metrics that the investor will look at, but one of it is not just basically money. For us, like Double Feather, it's not always money. Money comes almost like the last part of our analysis of your enterprise for us to fund you. There are so many. Social impact comes like number one. How many clients are you able, how many lives are you able to touch, how many lives are you able to transform? And from there, then we also look at what is your product? Is it tech enabled? Because looking at the current modern economy, disrupting and the tech enabled kind of service will also be very important. So those are some of the metrics that we look, and basically people will fake it, but fake it maybe until, of course, we all do all this kind of due diligence analysis. And definitely, even we've seen so many businesses fall because you'll fake it, and maybe at one point you'll not be able to get it right. One key thing, maybe I would advise, the last thing, of course, is try to solve a solution within the market that you want to serve. For us as Double Feather partners, we invested in one of the companies that went down. They were trying to provide like food services, trying to compete with Uber, trying to compete with local restaurants that we call kibantas, where people do like street food. And these people came and they are not able like to serve this market because it's just an idea that they have that we can be able to do this. But are they able to connect with the people? Are they able to get the clients within their community? And so, yeah, that I would leave it as that.
That's so great, and good to know that the metrics of investors do not only focus on how much you can make. You know, now everything looks like every entrepreneur is looking to raise, all right? But then you need to get some things right, and investors are also going social. They have been also adopting some sustainable means of investing in businesses so that it stands the test of time. I want to get the AI perspective on this. When it comes to, you said data is gold. When it comes to data management and all that, within the line of thoughts that we've already shared and the things that we've already we already touched on, what are we missing out in terms of data management as entrepreneurs? But if you're here with us, maybe you can touch base on this. And what do we have to do in terms of integrating the new technologies like the AI tools, now chat GPTs everywhere? But then how does entrepreneurs actually, you know, circumvent this type of systems, these new technologies that are being introduced so far, and keep their businesses also running? But okay, maybe our AI man is not here at the moment. But then let's.
Andrew, maybe at one point I would have had on AI. Yesterday we met a company that is in Kenya called iCare. It's an insurance that is leveraging on AI, especially in terms of data collection. And they're partnering with multiple companies to bring some collection of the data together. And they're able to provide insurance, either do calculation of either by kilometer. So if it's a motorbike, we can be able, are you going to travel like 10 kilometers? And we just give you a cover of maybe 10 kilometers. And all this has been now able, because of the AI and this kind of integration of the data mapping and maybe analysis of the data. And so it's quite important where we are moving. That will be very key on what kind of businesses are we. And even the normal businesses, even collecting data, businesses also monetize the data itself. You can also pull and partnership with other companies and be able to collect data and try to understand what are your clients, what do they need. And then from there, you can be able to create a solution together for them.
Great. Thanks a lot for that comment and for that insight also. Let me go to Francis. Currently, I think we are currently, you know, with the same understanding. We have a shared understanding now that you can't fake everything. The reality will catch up with you, right? But then hypothetically, you can have the big, hairy, audacious goals backed by something that you can do. When it comes to your case, in terms of what you can do as an entrepreneur, what entrepreneurs seem to do in terms as the challenges that they encounter, the problems that they want to solve, how do entrepreneurs focus on the most important things first, all right? So that they can also build up from there. Because you can't, as Amanda said, you can't solve everything. You can't have, there has to be clarity with what you want to do. How do you do it? And in terms of your hypothetical things that you want to do, you know, aiming for the sun and then landing on the moon, right? How then do you also measure moving strategically so that you don't lose sight of the most important things that you have to work on, if you understand me correctly? Because you can have the audacious goals and you can have the big things that you want to do, but there has to be a process, right? What sort of processes would you advise that entrepreneurs begin to think about, and how they solve their problems, how they solve the immediate problems and reach the future that they want to create or transform the lives that they want to transform?
Thank you so much. I would say that, you know, you have to set your agenda, your goals. And in our case, we have both long-term and short-term goals. Long-term is what I would call, in this case, the stars. And then we have the short-term, which is, the perspective of the moon. And with both, we have both commercial and development sort of indicators, what many people say KPIs. And we have been able to achieve some of them, not all of them, sometimes, and that's the truthness of it as well. You know, is that you can set up these big goals, you can achieve some of them. Sometimes you fall short of those achievements, either because of internal issues, but in Africa mostly it's because of external issues, and that happens. In this case, I would say to entrepreneurs that both perspectives, they can come into play to you as an entrepreneur, and we have to own that responsibility of setting up the goal, setting up the agenda, and being able to set up these both commercial and development or impact KPIs. And it's that traction that in our case have been able to unlock the support. Sometimes not basically money. The support can come from partnerships that have been able to reduce your cost, which are indirect sort of investment. By you showing, for example, that you're impacting this specific segment of or vertical that maybe, for example, your government is looking to create incentives, and you being at the forefront, you can be able to unlock in-kind support, getting waivers, reducing your cost. It doesn't necessarily mean injection of capital. There's also other forms of investment that can come into play, and partnerships that can come into play. And I think that will be my submission in regards to is setting up the goals, whether short-term or long-term, setting up the traction and KPIs that monitor that traction. And by this I mean the numbers, both quantitative and qualitative sort of KPIs that you can be able to measure your success against. So you can say at the end that we are 80% to our goal, or 70% or 99% to our impact goals, and or 80% to our commercial goals. And that, for me, it's more important that you can be able to project that and show that and say this is my traction.
Fantastic. Great thoughts there. I'm wondering what Regis thinks about this when it comes to, setting your KPIs, the various goals, first key performance indicators that leads you to achieving the goals. So in measuring your performance, who gives what at this point, and how are we doing it? The strategy. So whilst you have your your indicators that, okay, I want to raise about maybe get sales margins of like 100 people buying my potato biscuits, right? In month one. So month one, 100 people buying my my potato biscuits. And then I say that, okay, for me to reach this, maybe I would have to invest in marketing. I would have to get some partnerships. I'd have to do X, Y, or Z. In putting all this together and then managing your cost and all those things that comes with the work you do, how do entrepreneurs look at their strengths and commit to their strengths before they begin to add on new responsibility within the line of that, as Francis said, that we have agenda, we set our goals, either short-term, long-term, and all that. How do they manage the cost component of it, and also manage their own ambitions and what they want to do, and they will be everywhere, roaming into every offices? How do they navigate those things? Because I know this is, as a business developer, I hear this often. They want to be here, they see opportunity here, they see opportunity, but then they also have their KPIs, they also have their plans, but they still want to be part of every other opportunities. What's your advice on that? And what do you think entrepreneurs can do better?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. I think first the thing we need to do is to do SWOT analysis of our business. Because at the end, yeah, let's say, for example, on my case, my company Car Group, we are much into processing. And we talked about contributing to smallholder farmers on the other side. So which means also we are on the supply chain side, but not directly, we are not in the production, but working with people who are producing. On the other side, there's a market where we are doing distribution and whatever. So it's almost 3 components of the chain. And then once you do the SWOT analysis, you look into that whole value chain. You not just focus on one component. And when you are scanning, that's where then you can come up with available opportunities during or within the whole value chain. That's where when you're trying to cut the costs, for example, if I need, for example, 100 tons of sweet potatoes, and I'm not capable to do farming on my side, and I'm not providing seeds, and when I'm costing, I have to look at who I can partner with to make sure that the farmers can get the right seeds so that they can produce on my side. Then that's where partnership is key within whatever we are doing, because partners, the roles of partners is to help you to cut those kind of costs. Otherwise, people's customers, as I said, what they need is affordable products and the product that respond to their needs. They don't care about what struggle you went through or the cost you are using for your product. If it's affordable and it meets the quality they need, then they can buy it. Then it's up to you as an entrepreneur to look at yourself and look at the whole value chain of your business and the ecosystem, and try to figure out who is in the system or who is the value chain, so that you can partner with them to reduce and cut those costs through the partnership process. And you talked about also the KPIs. Of course, at the end, what we need for entrepreneurs is money. And to get money, you have to set how much money I need to make sure that I can maybe break even. So then once you set that KPIs, that's where you can come up with a strategy to get those numbers. Otherwise, you will lose yourself. But once you get numbers, that's where you can even attract investors. You can say, for example, you want to make $1 million within a year. Of course, you need to do also market research, because the people will give you that money, it's the customers. If they are not there, then I'm not sure if you will get that money. So after doing the customer research or market research, then you can have a strategy of either fundraising, if you need investment, either look at those partners I was talking about, and make a business plan. And within a business plan, you will put all those information. You will, of course, put the numbers, KPIs. You will do also mapping the stakeholders that will help you to achieve those goals. And at the end, you have to remember that you are selling a product. You are not NGO. You are selling a product or service. You need to make sure that you have the product. If the product or service is not there, and the right one, the quality ones, then nothing is there. That's why you have to go through the process of production, prototyping, testing, and then start selling within your village and then start growing. But you have to go through the whole process. Otherwise, you can just produce a product and you realize that no one needs that product. So you have to focus on the product, but also remember that you need a business plan to make sure that your business can be scalable and also attract to different stakeholders, either investment or other partners. I think I can just highlight those few, but of course, business and entrepreneurship, it's wide, but you need also to focus on what you wish to do.
Wonderful. You need to focus on what you want to do. Please, I encourage you, we are still on. If you're here and you have any questions bubbling up in you, and bear in mind or know that we have some giveaways, $70 worth tickets for a shared value training, the investor readiness and training coming up. I think the shared value training, and I've been a part of all the trainings. That's a purpose playbook training. I've been a part of investor readiness training. I'm a shared value man. So I encourage you to be a part of this. And we know those that are engaging on the chat. I'm already getting the names of those that are really engaging on the chat. And I see a lot of comments on the chat. So I encourage you, if you have any question, kindly drop in the chat box, and then our panelists will do justice to it. Okay, Regis, thanks a lot for that. So SWOT, do your own, understand your own strength, do your personal analysis, you move to your needs analysis in terms of what you can deliver on, work on a business model, and then you have a business plan in place. I want to touch base on Amanda quickly, on how entrepreneurs can be able to deliver on their promise, or not promise. Let me say deliver on their purpose. I think you said a bit about that, but then how do they really deliver on their purpose, to keep their purpose at the center and creating value through their business? How do they keep their purpose at the center of everything they do, in terms of their strategy formulation, in terms of how they are going about their partnership interactions and all that? Just give us a bit of thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, your question is like, how do they keep their purpose in mind? And I think the only way you can wake up in the morning and make sure that you are still delivering on your purpose is having a purpose to begin with. Because if you don't define what your purpose is, you will get lost in the meantime, you know, in the everyday, because running a business is such a busy thing. You know,
exactly.
Today you're doing marketing, tomorrow you're doing accounting, tomorrow you're talking to a lawyer, tomorrow everything is going on all at the same time. And it's very easy to lose focus on what you aimed to do to begin with. It's very easy to, you know, lose your way because there's so much to do on a daily basis. And I think as entrepreneurs, and maybe when you're just starting, maybe you're still in your 3 years, you get overwhelmed quickly because you want to scale, you want to make money, you want to deliver on your purpose. There's so much to do. And I think I'm not the only one who shares this sentiment. It's like, remember why you started. And if purpose was the core of the reason why you started, it becomes difficult to forget why you started to begin with. So if you wanted to continue delivering on your purpose, I think you need to define what that purpose is to begin with. But setting those KPIs or setting those goals and setting those milestones helps you keep in, yourself in that line of, delivering on that purpose. Because if your purpose is to, let's say, just alleviate poverty, and maybe you want to say in the next 5 years, this is where we hope to see ourselves. Keeping in mind, like every quarter, are we still on the same track? Are we doing exactly what we need to do? And the thing is about entrepreneurship is that the goalpost always changes. Like today you reach this goal, it moves, it moves to something else. For a year from now, it moves to something else. And that's one thing, that's just the reality of entrepreneur, is the reality of running a business. The goalpost will always move, but having that, reaching for the stars and, aiming for the stars and reaching the moon, it's just, know what that moon is, know what the moon is for your business. Because the other thing is that we get so lost in comparing our journeys with other people as well. Because competition is a reality as well when it comes to entrepreneurship. And you find someone who you started at the same time with, who's reached their goals in 2 years, and you're still stuck 2 years later and not sure what you're doing. It's because you're not focusing on your goal, you're not focusing on the purpose that you had set out for you to do. So remembering why you started is very important to me. And because that's the one thing that's going to keep you waking up in the morning. That's the one thing that's going to keep you going, even if you win and even if you lose, because entrepreneurship as a journey is filled with wins and losses. More losses than wins most of the time. But if you remember the reason why you started, those losses become lessons. At the end of the day, you try to ascertain, okay, why did I lose here? Why did I not reach my goal in this case? And you try to see the lessons that you've made and the mistakes that you've made so that they can turn into wins at the end of the day, because you did not lose your purpose. So if you want to keep in line with what your purpose is, and you want to remember what it is, and you want to keep delivering on your purpose, the first thing you have to do is define what that purpose is for you. And once you have defined what that purpose is, you have to get the buy-in of your consumer and your team internally. Because if you have a team of, let's say, 20 people, and you have a certain purpose, if your team is not intact and your team is not aware of that purpose, it will get lost in the process of the everydays. So getting the buy-in from your team, getting the buy-in from your consumers helps. They will remind you of the purpose as well. So your purpose is not a founder thing on your own. It's not something that you keep in in your diary next to your bedside table. It's not something that you just leave for yourself, but it's something that you share amongst the team that you're with, so that when you're all working towards that same purpose. But to work towards that purpose is really remember what it is, get the buy-in from your team, get the buy-in from your consumer, and just remember why you started, because that's honestly for me the only way that you will always keep delivering on your purpose.
Fantastic thoughts there. So in keeping on to deliver on your purpose, I want to go to the investor. When you meet an entrepreneur, for an instance, who has a beautiful pitch deck, and then you maybe review their that pitch deck, the attraction, the market that they are serving, how great their product is, and all that. What do you look at in particular that would make you invest in them? Okay, what do you look at in particular? What gets your attention to want to invest in them? Can you tell us a bit about that? And then we'll take the next round of thoughts, and then maybe we'll just move to the next aspects of the forum, which is closer to the end, by the way.
Thank you, Andrew. So basically, we look at a few things, especially for most venture capital firms will not fund like either prototype, but of course there are other key sectors or other investors that will will maybe try to help you to create a product through further prototypes. So for most venture investors, we look at post-product, so it needs to be have a product that is already in the market. Then we also need to be either post-revenue, is this product generating some revenue? Not necessarily profit, but is it trying to generate some revenue? Then we also look at the management. Please, maybe what is the composition of the management of the team? Not specifically either Ivy Food or anything, but are they able to understand the market? What kind of experience do they have? Have they like tried to learn more about say the business operations? So we know that within the management, each has some unique capabilities. So are these capabilities able to help the business to grow? And if they don't have these capabilities, are they willing to be able to learn, either during an acceleration or incubation process, try to learn? Or the company or the investor can also second a person within the company to be able to learn what are some of the operational and basic things that you need to run the business. The other thing that we also look at is definitely the competitors within the market. So what is your edge within, or how do you differentiate yourself within the other people within the same business model? So those are the few that we look at. From there, then what matters, of course, is the due diligence. Are you talking the truth? Because intelligence and integrity is also key while we are trying to evaluate the business. Because especially, you say, of course, I run, maybe I run XYZ kind of business, and this is what I want you to fund. Then we try also to look within either your profile, and we see like you have other 10 companies that you've already generated within the last 10 years, and maybe none is operating. So that raises some of the questions. Why did these other organizations fail, and you never mention them to us? So the truthfulness, as much as you say, integrity and truthfulness is also matters within this space. So those are the few things that we look. So long as you have a good business model that is a good market need, and you're able to articulate what you want and what you're saying, basically you'll be able to get the funding.
Fantastic. Great thoughts there. Now we are getting to the part where I would want to ask a question that I think Amanda touched on, that the entrepreneurial journey, it comes with a lot. Whilst you're on the journey, a lot of things keeps coming to you. And there are parts where you just lose, but those losses becomes your lessons, not necessarily losses. You know, at what point did you meet a loss that became a lesson for you? What can you share with us as we wrap up our talk? And then I'll go to Regis. At what point also did you encounter a big loss that you considered as a lesson and wouldn't want to repeat, quote unquote, probably the mistake that you did that got you those losses? And then also, I would come back to Amanda in some sort of final thought also of the losses that you have identified that entrepreneurs have made, and you probably also have made some losses because you're also an entrepreneur, that you can also share some lessons on. I hope that all of you may not say the same thing. You will say something that would eventually get everybody to know that, okay, Francis's losses and how he actually made those losses were not the same. And maybe someone will pick something from here and say that I joined the African Entrepreneurship Forum and I'm going to navigate my path and not make some mistakes that Francis made. But even if I make them, it should be my lesson not to repeat them again, right? Francis, first with you, and then we go to Regis and we go to Amanda, and then we will talk to the investor who would also tell us maybe their bad investment that they made and probably what they probably would consider as a good investment that they have in their portfolio. Thank you. Francis, I'm sorry to be putting this all in all of your thoughts. It seems to be a lot, but I want you to think about it because I won't come back to ask any question again. All right.
No, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so in hindsight, I think I'd like to address, first of all, the entrepreneurship journey that we just finished in terms of the purpose. So I think, in my opinion, again, my opinion and my experience, the journey is either passion, purpose, there is also survival. We can't deny that we have this survival instinct, especially when in this part of the world where there are not so many opportunities. And then there is a hybrid of survival and purpose. And I'm very happy to be in the hybrid section where, you know, I'm fulfilling my purpose, but I'm also trying to create an opportunity for me and my family and the employees that I have, for them to find livelihoods. So it's very important that I am honest with you guys. I don't want to sound like I have a lot of privilege and end up sounding like a white person, to be honest.
This is where we speak real. We speak real
yes,
here.
yeah. We're speaking real. And so you might, there's some people with privilege who will start with the passion aspect of it. There are some people who will start with the survival part of it. And there are some people who will start with survival, but integrate into the purpose as most of the basic needs start to be fulfilled. And so to answer your question now about the win and the loss perspective of it, is being in that hybrid section, you are always in conflict with the aspect of impact versus commercial. What do I mean? You want to have that impact, you want to have that fulfillment, but you're limited by the commercial side of it. You want to employ as many people as possible, but you can't because you are looking at the bottom line of it. You want to support smallholder farmers, for example, but you can't because aggregating produce from smallholder farmers is expensive, you know, compared to working with one large farm. So those are the realities of businesses, and we can't hide behind, you know, being correct and saying things that, you know, pass the narrative. You want, again, to work with, you know, low income customers, but the margins are so small because you can't sell produce at premium, you know? And so that's the kind of conflict I have. And I think that's my biggest conflict and loss in this sort of business setup, where you're balancing with about being good human being and being a good business man or woman. So those two tend to conflict in today's world. Again, in my opinion, where I'm trying to serve, and what I've, you know, the balance of scale has to be, one has to win, you know, and one has to lose. And we are finding ourselves as social enterprises, sometimes you want to be impactful, but unfortunately, if you are working on one side of the value chain with low income producers, be it farmers, be it fishermen, you have to sell to high income people because they're the only people who can be able to buy at premium and support these low income producers. If you're working with high income producers, they are going to do it at scale, and therefore their cost of, they have much more efficiency in them, and therefore you can be able to sell to low income sort of consumers. And this is the dynamics that you have to keep shifting, and this is the reality of business. So my conflict is that, you know, being a better human being, a good human being, and being a good business. And so sometimes balancing that is very, very tough. And also surviving.
And also surviving. So that becomes your loss on your part.
That becomes my loss. Yeah, I feel like I can't do both. I have
human being.
Yes, I have to choose one. I have to choose one.
You have to choose one. Okay, I want you to be a good businessman. Okay, a good businessman who would do business with purpose. All right, Regis. Regis, you're muted. You're muted. I see you're talking, but you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, what I wanted to talk on is about, we started back in 2015. And as a fresh graduate from university, and I had an idea, and that time I didn't really know even how to make the product. So we spent almost 2 years making products and selling. Sometimes, we were talking about faking, but one of the mistakes we did is to sell the fake the product. So then within that 2 years, so we realized that we are selling the fake product. So we were in the process of faking. And after that, we almost lost the client.
Wow.
And later in 2017, we realized that there is a process that we jumped, and we went back and analyzed the business until we realized that we didn't even have a business plan of what we need to do and how we need to do it. So until we found a partner who is a company organization who is in business management, and then we went through their program, we drafted the new business plan. We stopped the business almost 2 years, just trying to make sure that we understand what we want to do, and also making a business plan and to know how much money we need, at least to start with a high quality product. So then we went back on the market in 2020, where we were able to establish a well and very good product with a certified a product on the market. So we went through the other prototyping process again after all those failures. But now we have, as I said, we are now only company that has a brand in Kigali that has been certified by Rwanda Standard Board, just because of, refreshing on what the mistake we made that time. So what I can say is that always plan, have a plan. Have a plan, do your analysis, what you know to do and what you don't know to do. If you need some skills, go and find it. If you need some machines or equipment, know those machines and how much money it costs. We need to scan and put in all the information on the paper and start doing business once you have a plan. It's like a house. You never construct a house without a plan. So let's do business with a plan, and then we win. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Regis. A quick one from Amanda. And then it's also connected to something that you reacted to earlier, but there's a question here again that I want you to quickly box it together, if you can do that for me. How do you navigate from being in business for survival to finding your purpose, or rather, how do you get to know your purpose when you actually started a business for survival purposes? It's a very loaded one. Maybe you can tell.
This is tricky. I feel like it's a tricky one. Francis will answer it better because he's actually in between the both of them.
I think he's talking to Francis, actually.
Yeah.
It's a conflict. Anyway, tell us a bit of it, and then let's bring it. Let's wrap it quickly with our last one.
Yes, sure. When it comes to losses, we can be sitting here for 12 months just having conversation about my losses. But I want to speak about one in particular that is aligned to, you're having the investor readiness summit in the next couple of days. And we had someone talking about investors. And one of my losses was actually having an investor. So I think when it comes to entrepreneurs, we're so desperate. I need money to make my business work. I need money. I need funding. I need a grant. Sometimes you don't need money. All you need is a mentor, tools, and the right discipline to make your business work. Sometimes you don't need that $1 million to make your business. Sometimes you don't need the money. You just need the discipline and the tools and a mentor who's going to be able to mentor you through it all. And those are three things that I didn't have, or that we didn't have at the time when my business was invested in. And that business closed a couple of years later, but we didn't have good investors as well. And as much as we're like pining at, I need an investor, oh my gosh, I need to be investor ready. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lesson that we need to learn as entrepreneurs, is that not all investors are good for you, or not all investors are a match for you. That even if an investor comes and says, listen, I want to give you $50,000 or whatever it is, you need to also assess if that investor is the best person for your business. Will they also benefit your bottom line of your business, your impact, the purpose that you're trying to have? Not all investors are a good fit for you. And I think when you do eventually go to, the Investor Readiness Summit and you find an investor who's interested in investing in your business, you assess them as well. It's not only about them assessing you and how ready you are, but they need to be someone who can best fit your business, best fit your purpose as well. So if they don't, honestly, it's okay to say no. I know as entrepreneurs, you're never going to say no to money. And I know I'm asking for a lot here, but if honestly, not all businesses need money to survive in terms of an investor to survive, but sometimes all you need is a good mentor, good tools, a good team, and good discipline to make it. Not all problems will be solved by an investor, because one of my losses were an investor.
Let me get a final thought from the investor who may think otherwise, because he's a good investor who will not give you loss.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Albert,
thank you.
Albert?
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm off camera. Yeah, sorry, and I'm off camera. I think my laptop just went off and I couldn't plug in somewhere. So
no
I think I like Amanda, what she has said. They are good investors, they are bad investors, and it's not always about money. And for us, if you are looking for an investor, it's good to look for a strategic partner who is an investor. He's bringing money on board, but something else is he bringing on board apart from money? Is he bringing some mentorship? Is he bringing some bringing an additional value from what you don't have within the business? And that is, to us, matters a lot. It all depends with what kind of investor. But what I know, like for Double Feather Partners, especially working with the Japanese are a bit people that are a bit patient, especially patient capital, patient whatever, especially trying to match within, bringing some additional value, especially matching your startup business with the Japanese in terms of bringing technology, in terms of bringing innovation, addition within your business. And that matters a lot. As a business, especially as you're looking for money, is also be very careful, especially when you're selecting investors. And I like what Amanda said. I'm sorry that you also incurred some losses with a bit of some few investors, but maybe that is also part of the learning. Yeah, thank you.
It's part of the learning indeed. It's part of the learning indeed. Thank you so much for your thoughts, for spending this time with us. We couldn't hear much from Bax because of internet challenges. This is one of the major things that we need to tackle as African entrepreneurs. I hope that somebody would help solve the connectivity challenges that we have on the continent. And definitely we'll be having that conversation pretty soon at the Mobile World Congress in Kigali this year again, hopefully. So we are climaxing the event now. I want us to pull out the last poll quickly, and then let us know what you think. How do you like to know more about how you want to build for economic and social value through your business? And then I'm sure you've already seen in the chat box, we have our winners, our 5 winners. Woo! Let's give it up for them. So put in an emoji, our 5 winners for the shared value, introduction to shared value training. Let me quickly mention their name. Okay, we have Aroma Patrick. I like the name Aroma Patrick. Jamshed Nadir. We have Aminata Basin. We have Vivian Hobbs. We have Mafitha Sitho. So thank you so much for joining us and for being our most interactive audience. Let's pull out the result quickly. I think everybody agrees with this one, that definitely, of course, we would like to know more about how we can build for economic and social value through our business. So if you want to know more, join us first off in our upcoming investor readiness training, and then later for the introductions to shared value. It's where you learn how to really build a purposeful business, okay, that's solving social and economic value. This brings us to the end of our forum for today. Thank you so much, Solomon, our keynote, who set the tone for us, who gave us the broader perspective and things that we have to speak to, and how we can actually create value through our business. He gave us the secrets to creating, a business that solves both social and environmental problems, a business that is responsible, that does business with purpose. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Andrew Sakotuado. I've been here with Amanda Sibia brand strategies, lead strategies for Brand Africa, Regis, Francis, Bax, Albert. These are all people that you will definitely be meeting again on the African Entrepreneurship Forum in our subsequent event forum, which is very soon, the third quarter installment. Be on the lookout in your email also for all shared value related conversation. Reach for Change has also been an amazing, of course, I work with Reach for Change. So we are definitely also helping and trying to build up conversation within the shared value narrative, creating shared value and building businesses that do not only think about purpose, but think for profits with purpose, think through profits for purpose. Awesome, awesome. Thank you all, and we'll catch up again very soon. Enjoy your weekend and have an amazing, amazing time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, bye.